I have some rules that I play by whenever I buy people's shoes. There's some general, like, just rules of the game.
Okay, we can start the show now.
Okay, we can do that. We can start the show now.
Right?
Yeah, right there. Yeah. So I have some rules of the game whenever I buy people's shoes.
Mm.
I will not buy you a pair of shoes that I do not endorse. I'm not doing it.
Oh, like, yeah, because you would hate for someone to clown on them and be like, oh, Chris bought me these.
It's not even that. It's like if I wouldn't wear them, right, or I couldn't see myself wearing them, I'm not buying them for you.
Really?
Oh, yeah. No, not doing it. And then...
Why? Well, that way, that goes against everything. Would you wear the Ben & Jerry's?
No. I've not picked them up for anybody.
We got to get those for Odun, though.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Come on.
I mean, I might do it as like a sarcastic gift or like, hey, I know he's not into the shoes, like it's whatever.
Yeah.
But you got to understand, like, I don't want that on my track record. Like, I don't want anybody pulling up my receipts and going like, Chris bought these Air Force Ones that were like pink and blue. Like, it's not, if I'm not going to wear them, I'm not buying them.
Mm.
So that throws off a lot of things. Like, my number one offender here? Adam.
That's right.
Adam from Mind Pump is very eclectic when it comes to the shoes.
He's got, but it's some of them are sentimental. I could tell, like they mean something to him from the past.
Again, that's all well and good in the past, brother.
Yeah,
but today,
like I'm not. I'll be honest. It might be bold take.
Oh God,
the Travis Scott dunks. I'm not a fan. The skater ones with the bandana logo on it. Those are Travis Scott's.
Oh,
right?
I hate those.
Yeah, those are Travis Scott's, right?
I bought him those.
Like, I'll be honest, they're very expensive, okay?
Yeah, no, I got those for Adam.
I know, I've seen them, yeah.
And it burned my soul. And then I sent him texts when I got them. I'm like, why do you want these?
But then when we also got the Oreos, the 4s, I think. White Oreos, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Those are nice.
Those are nice, yeah.
Yeah.
The Harintos, whatever.
Yeah.
Those. I got the new the Nike bike ones that just came out, the bricks, the Jordan 4 bricks that everybody's trying to get. Those are going to retail in the secondary market for like, I should say aftermarket, they'll be like $2,000 each.
I think I'm due for a new pair.
Let me know what you want, bro.
With that, welcome back to the #1 financial literacy podcast in the world. Sitting next to me is my partner in crime, Chris Nahibi.
And sitting next to me on my right is my partner in time, the one and only Saied Omar, everybody.
Thank you. And if you didn't know by now, you're listening to The Higher Standard, who does not have anybody sitting behind the ones and twos.
Empty desk.
So
fully autonomous.
Let's start off the show with another amazing repeat 5-star review. It always makes me feel good when someone left a 5-star review and they're like, you know what? You guys have been doing so well. I got to send you another one.
I don't feel like doing this at the top of the show is very engaging.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not engaging, but we got to let people know that we appreciate them.
You can do it at the end of the show.
We don't do it at the end of the show because those are the listeners that stay locked in.
If you left a review, you have a reason to wait till the end.
That's true. We can do that. Stay tuned to the end of the show.
Yeah.
For P-Dub's review.
Oh, good review.
Yeah.
So it's been a very tumultuous week. We knew when we did the Tariff episode 276 last week that dropped on Tuesday of this week, that it was going to be impactful. I don't think we knew exactly what that meant.
At the time when we made the episode and we did the episode, it was still really up in the air whether is this really a negotiating tactic? What's the driving force here? Does he really believe everything he says?
And we saw the market go up and down based on just singular statements, in some cases that were not actually being made. A great example of this is that the White House was believed to have made statements that were inaccurate, and that swung the market up and down.
Yeah.
And it's not just on a daily basis. It's on the hour, like the markets are moving. And then Trump came out and he said that China was retaliating with its tariffs and that it was the only country that was allegedly doing so, and that he was going to raise tariffs today on China to 125%, but everybody else was going to get a 90-day moratorium.
See, and that just creates even more suspense and more uncertainty, right? Like, what's going to happen? Here's the problem with this now, that the market definitely is listening and reacting in real time to headlines.
Yep.
Okay, so now with that, another 90 days, now people are still going to be waiting on the sideline. and worried about what's going to happen next. There's no that we know that we talk about this on the show all the time. Investors are looking for certainty, right? They want to know if they can put their money at play. Is it safe for the long term?
And the best proxy for this investor sentiment is the VIX, the fear gauge, VIX, if you want to Google it. And we got as high as just above 60, which is very, very high for the VIX. I would say anything above 25 would be considered to be a very elevated number. We're still, I think, above 30. We were we closed a couple days this week above 40s, about the high 40s, and then one day above 50, and then another day above 60. And then today, when everybody else's tariffs were dropped to 10%, and China was raised 125% with 90-day moratorium for everybody but China, we saw the VIX drop down to 33 at close. It was a pretty wild swing, and we saw one of the best days in market rises, frankly, in the last several decades, probably one of the top 3 or 4 of all time. And I would argue that's not good. That level of volatility, whether you made money on it or not, and Trump had come out saying now's a great time to be in the market, and then he did something which swung the market. If this were anybody else, this would be an SEC violation. Like, you're moving markets based on your statements. It's questionable behavior at the very least.
For the S&P 500 to take a 6.5% swing within a 5-hour window,
that's crazy.
That is insane.
And I know that someone's inevitably going to listen to this and say, "Hey, are you endorsing? Are you not endorsing? Do you like Trump? Do you not like?" This has nothing to do with liking him or his politics.
No, right.
This has nothing to do with having a political opinion that's Democratic or Republican.
No, but I will say this. Okay, I think there's a time and a place. I do believe that there's a time and a place for tariffs. Okay, that if used properly in a certain way, and that I can get behind. But
well, I mean, let's be clear. Trump ran, literally saying he was going to do it. The most anomalous thing here that I frankly have seen, and I know there's going to be some dissenting opinions on this, he said when he was running, the tariffs were going to be a strategy he was going to deploy. He said that.
Yeah.
He's the first president that I can literally recall in recent memory.
But he also said that
got in office and did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Yeah, but he also said that if you were to go the other way and elect the other party, that the market would crash and this and that. And he repeatedly said it over and over. And look at the volatility that we're seeing right now, right? So, but here's my thing: there isn't enough, no different, and actually worse than what Jerome Powell and the FOMC did, right? By raising rates as fast as they did 2 years ago, right? 2.5 years ago at this point, right? That banks and financial industries as a whole could not plan fast enough for the future.
No,
right?
no, you can't.
You couldn't account for it. Same thing with the tariffs. What are all these businesses supposed to do? You can't plan for this fast enough.
Well, I mean, again, I'll play devil's advocate here. I'll take the other side of this equation, and not because, again, my political opinion, but I'll try to play the other side. My answer to that would be something along the lines of, you don't need to plan for it. It was less than a week of disruption for you. It's been, what, Thursday of last week to now?
Yeah.
It hasn't even been a full week.
Right.
What have you really changed?
But what we here's the thing: what's really changed is we don't know where this could all go.
Yeah, I hear you. And just like the deficit, right? And just like we have a budget that has to be approved in Congress, right? And oh my God, we have to approve funds by midnight, otherwise everything shuts down because we're out of money. We have to approve another cap. Well, people are going to freak out in 90 days when they say, "Oh my God, we don't have tariff deals. The tariffs are going to come back online, and the market's going to move again for sure." And I don't think anyone's going to come out. Let's just say Trump's negotiating. Let's just say that's the tack that he's taking here. I think everybody's got a pretty good feel that's what he's attempting to do, at least, right? If that's what he's attempting to do, he's not going to have 100% compliance in 90 days.
No.
And there's a theory out there, and I think this is really bothersome for most people, that China did retaliate in our markets by creating a sell-off in the bond market, driving treasuries up and devaluing the U.S. currency in the process.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who are what are called market experts going like, why the hell are the treasuries rising with all this other stuff going on? It doesn't make any sense. That's the only plausible reason why that makes sense, is that China retaliated with passive-aggressive sell-off of their U.S. debt holdings.
Like forced liquidation.
Yeah. And this has happened before a couple times in history, largely in response to, again, tariffs and some trade activity.
So explain, maybe unpack that a little bit. How would that impact the economy as a whole by China doing that?
Well, I'm going to do a terrible job.
Treasuries were coming down, right? And
the treasuries were coming down, and they had a sell-off of the treasuries, right? So there's less demand and more supply, if you will.
Yeah.
So what does that do? It causes the long-term end of the curve to continue to spike up over time. And effectively, in this window of time, it happened at such a rapid cadence that it caused the 10-year treasury to spike well above 4.4. I mean, it was a huge movement, like 30 basis points in a single day in some cases. I mean, it was massive for the treasuries. And that's not normal with this much volatility and recessionary fears. You would normally see them drop down, and instead they're going up. The only way that happens in my mind is that they're manipulating it. Now, I heard a really good argument.
There would need to be a large amount, right? That would need to be
billions of dollars that would need to be liquidated and kind of force this type of transaction. That's theory number one. Number two is that, and this is actually by my buddy Mark Zandy over at Moody's. He was saying something to the effect of, I want to make sure I don't mischaracterize this, that he believed that there were margin calls happening in the market because of the stock prices dropping at such a rapid cadence, that there were margin calls in the market, and the margin calls in the market were impacting the credit defaults and having a sell-off like tendency, which made the market look like it was selling off, but when in fact treasuries were rising because it was a forced sell-off. I don't know if there's a real way to validate either one of those as a theory. All I can tell you is we're seeing some very bizarre behavior, not only from the executive office, not only from the response internationally, but also from the economic response in the markets. None of this is normal. And if you're confused by it, or anybody listening to this is confused by it, I would say it's a totally rational thing. Some very brilliant economists, brilliant financial minds are still very confused.
Well, yeah, things like this shouldn't be shifting as quickly as they do, right?
No. And you shouldn't have things acting in polar opposites. So, for example, the Treasury shouldn't be rising while you're having a market sell-off.
Right. And then you shouldn't have, so Jerome Powell was at some conference the other day, and I know they had an emergency meeting also.
April 7th.
On the 7th, mind you.
Which
the next
I think a lot of people were like, oh my God, they're going to cut rates. No,
they're not.
They have a fiduciary responsibility to respond to things in the market that are abnormal. And by respond, I don't mean to cut rates or not cut rates. I mean, they have a fiduciary responsibility to get together in a formalized committee, have a conversation about what they're seeing in the market, and confirm whether their course of action to do nothing is the right action for right now.
Right.
Given that the Fed has always been data dependent, none of the stuff that we're seeing right now is data per se. The markets are moving. Yes, they've pivoted. Those are numbers.
And they've also come out and said that, a correction wouldn't be so bad.
And we've not seen anything that speaks to their primary focus. So we haven't seen inflation numbers come back in higher or lower yet. We haven't seen jobs come back higher or lower yet.
So he was posed the question, right? Basically insinuating stagflation, right?
Which is a form of recession. People try to diminish it and say that it's not a recession. It is essentially a recession too.
So remember, if there's a catalyst and something breaks, ultimately what the Fed would do is lower their Fed funds rate, right? Cut rates that will ultimately stimulate the economy. That's how this works. So he was asked, because of their dual mandate, they have to either stabilize prices, aka inflation, and also control and give maximum employment, right?
And again, neither one of those, other than speculation, at this particular juncture in time, and this is April 9th? At this particular juncture in time, there is nothing from a data perspective that would cause the Fed to pivot other than speculation and fear of what could happen.
Right. And so he was posed the question, what would happen if, because of everything that we're seeing in the markets and what's going on with tariffs, if we did all of a sudden see mass layoffs, but inflation did not hit our goal? Now, you have two pieces of data that are working in opposite directions. One is signaling that you need to keep rates higher because inflation hasn't come back down. And the other is you need to cut rates because you need to bring the unemployment figure back down, because in theory at that time, unemployment would be spiking, right? What would you do? So he says, the FOMC has a statement that they released. It's called the consensus statement, right? Where they talk about this. And they say essentially you examine them as two different formulas, and whichever one is further away from its goal, that's the one you attack. So they have to analyze and try to consider, okay, is inflation at 3% further away from our 2% goal, or is our, in theory, unemployment rate of 7%, 8%, 9%, whatever it is, further away from our maximum employment rate? So, and then how hard is it to get that back into focus? And that's the one they have to tackle.
And I should point out at this particular juncture that there is competing priorities between what the executive office, the president, wants and what Jerome Powell wants for their respective jobs. I'm not making this like personal, but to give you some color and some context on exactly what does that mean by this. You have Jerome Powell, who does not want the interference because he's supposed to be politically neutral.
Yep.
He can't respond to politics. He can only respond to the economy. And then you've got the president who's going out on open press releases and statements saying, now would be a great time to cut rates, Jerome.
On his own platform.
On his own platform.
Yeah.
And it's
we really could use you cutting rates right now, because look, if Trump and Doge and everyone wants to lower the deficit, right? It's going to be really hard to get to their $1 trillion mark. The fastest way they could do it is if they can lower their interest payments. And how do you lower your interest payments? By rates being cut down and then refinancing some of that debt.
But see, and this is where, like, I understand if you're in the president's seat and you don't want to strategically be open about what it is you're doing, because what you don't want to do is give away your negotiation power. Fine. I get that as a plausible theory as to why he hasn't explained himself. However, what I would argue is that this is not one of those cases when you're talking to the Fed Secretary, the FOMC, Jerome Powell. And yeah, you can do this behind the scenes, but you're doing this openly in front of everybody else.
Yeah, through headlines.
Through headlines. Why aren't you explaining why you think, and again, you are not an economist, you are not Jerome Powell, and you find you're a successful entrepreneur. That's what CEOs are. That's what the president is. It's basically CEO of the United States. But he has not explained why he thinks that is the right solution. And I'm not saying that he has an obligation to. I'm just saying it very much help everybody to have some perspective.
On what exactly?
On why do you think cutting rates is the solution here? Like, why do you think that helps anything?
Right.
And maybe he has a great scenario. Maybe Navarro or some people who work for him have good explanations as to why they think that is a solution to this problem.
But yeah, solutions to this problem, short term versus long term.
And I'm just going to throw out again another speculative thought here. Real estate owners are much like realtors and like people in the mortgage industry. They believe that the solution to the affordability crisis is lowering rates, not values going down. And if you happen to own a lot of real estate, like the President of the United States does, you don't want your real estate values going down. You want cheaper financing.
Yes.
Right? Which then drives values up over time. There's a very much, it's something you cannot ignore as a self-serving benefit to him to have that rhetoric. Now, you may believe that for other economic reasons, and that's fine. But you know that's the baseline. You know that people are going to look at you and say, okay, how does this benefit you? And there's a reason that it does benefit you.
Yes.
So you owe it to the people to explain to them why this is not about your personal gain, why you think this is right for the business world.
Yeah, and everyone that you interact with. Your circle. Yeah.
Well, and that's not necessarily true either. Because let's be honest, these tariffs did not exactly go the way Tesla wanted them to.
No, yeah, that's true. No, exactly. But a lot of this can be rebounded.
So did Trump and Elon Musk have a falling out? Is that what's going on here?
It kind of feels like he's sitting on the outskirts now, right? Like he's with Neil Kashkari in the back with crayons.
He went from being like in the White House with his kid picking his nose, wiping on the president's desk.
Bro, Tesla sitting right there in front of the White House.
Tesla and Apple are probably two of the largest companies impacted by these tariffs.
Yeah, he's like
Tesla has factories in China.
He said we could build the iPhones here in the U.S. and Apple's like no.
Well, some of the numbers that have come out on what that would look like if it was just tariffs, what it would look like if the components are put together here.
$3,500.
That's a lot of money for an iPhone. I don't know that I could swing that.
The price.
Yeah.
And to get a new one every couple of years.
That's a problem.
That's a huge problem.
Actually, I'm due this year for the new Apple iPhone.
Right.
We have a 15. Yeah. Every 2 years we get a new iPhone. Every other year we get an iPhone. Next year we get new Apple Watches. Next year we get new iPhone. Next year we get new.
We've been hanging on to the Ultras for a while though.
Yeah, I really like the Ultra. I have the old Ultra. I didn't get a new one.
Me too.
I have the original Ultra that came out with the heart rate monitor, all that stuff on it still.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I have really enjoyed this watch. Out of all the watches I've ever owned, and I'm including all the fancy ones, this watch by far and away I get the most utility out of.
Yeah, me too.
Undeniable value.
I love it.
Yeah.
The only problem is it does mess up with dress shirts.
It is a little thicker, but I get my dress shirts with the cuff having increased a little bit for the watch. So regardless of what watch I'm wearing, there's always a little bit of room.
Also hard, bro.
Not really.
Custom shirts?
You know that most shirts that have the 2 buttons on it?
Yeah.
That's what that's for.
The second one.
It's not because people have fat wrists.
No.
I know that's a common misconception.
The second.
Oh, you're one of those thick wrist boys. Oh, you're going to use the outside button, right?
Dude, that thicky thick.
Can we have this little anecdotal sidebar here? I know the economy's been stressful, and this episode's supposed to be about the tariffs and that's going on some level, but why are all these people doing water fasts?
Is that multiple days?
They're doing like weeks and like 30 days, months, and like water fast. Like, why? What is like? Here, first of all,
there are health benefits to this, right?
Allegedly, but here's my thing: I don't like cleansing.
Same thing. Well, hold on.
Oh,
you can't do this.
I don't like the idea of cleansing.
No. You take a nice cold plunge every morning. Okay. Allegedly, there's really good benefits.
I don't do it for that, though.
I know you don't do it for that. I think some of these people also, allegedly, it makes them feel good, but they do feel better as they come off it.
Yeah, well, that's also because there's other biological reasons for it that make total sense, like fight or flight response. You're triggering imagine if I shocked you, which I just got shocked earlier tonight working the lights in the studio. That was weird. I'm like, I'm getting shocked, and then I moved my finger. Yeah, it wasn't like move your finger. I got shocked.
I did that once. I have a story. Go ahead.
I didn't know what was going on at first.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
I'm getting shocked. I'll move my finger now. I do the cold plunge thing because I know that there is a mental dexterity that comes from it, right? Like it's a difficult thing to do. I don't want to do it. Every single time I do it, I have to like talk myself into it.
Right.
I know there's a mental dexterity component, which adversity builds character. I'm trying to build character through physical adversity.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And some days, like when I do the construction stuff, I don't know what it is. I lift weights more than most people do, and I'm in decent shape, certainly. But when I do construction work all day long and my back hurts, I'll wake up the next morning and I just am craving getting the cold plunge and reducing the inflammation.
Really?
That's real, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same thing goes with fasting, I think. That's why people are doing it.
Okay, fine. I intermittent fast pretty much every day. I'll stop eating dinner.
Yeah, but
I'll eat dinner like 7, 8, huh?
You cheat, though.
What do you mean?
You're on the gear. That's cheating, bro. That's not fasting.
What, microdosing?
Yeah. Come on, that's killing your appetite on purpose.
It's still intermittent fasting.
I know it's, technically.
What Saied is trying to say is I microdose trizepatide. And I found, I'm going to make a bold statement here. It has probably been one of the most life-changing things I've ever taken.
Really? I know. And you've always said that since you started taking it.
Yeah, it was, there's a mental clarity that comes from it. I don't make any explanation as to why. I think maybe it's blood sugar driven.
But they also say that comes with fasting. So what if it's the fasting that's giving you the mental clarity?
Maybe. But before, I used to really struggle with 16 hours a day, every single day, like not eating.
Yeah.
And I would get to the point where mentally I just think about food. And now I can go the entire day, not think about it once. And I still get my calories in, but there's also a component too. I'm over 40, right? I'm damn near 45, which is really weird to say still. For me, I know physically I need less protein and less calories. My metabolism has slowed. I don't know that.
Less protein?
Yeah, dude, I barely eat any protein.
And you're still maintaining all your muscle mass?
I mean, I'm not as muscular as I once was. But I'm also not trying to be super muscular. I just want to be fit, dude. Like I want to be in good shape.
The rule of thumb is eat a gram of protein per pound of lean body mass, right?
When I was younger, that was the rule of protein.
That's the rule, yeah. So how much do you think you're taking in now? Because there was a point in time where if somebody asked you,
I knew every gram.
You knew every.
Man, I don't track, and I don't even try to count anymore because I honestly most days is a struggle just to get the calories in that I think just I need to maintain. I'd say I probably get between 80 and 100 grams of protein a day. And I weigh 225.
That's low.
Yeah, man. But I really don't eat much.
Good for you.
I don't eat a whole lot of food. So I'll have my first meal around like 12 or 1.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll have my second meal at like 7, 8. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have some protein snacks along the way. Give me 20 grams of protein here, 20 grams of protein there. But it'd be rare that I get more than 150 grams of protein a day.
Yeah.
I am on testosterone. I am on, all the chemicals.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, I don't.
So what bothers you about people doing the water fast?
I just don't think. First of all, we're 60% water, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your brain is largely water and fat.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this ideology of putting your body through something like that cleanses you.
You have to be real careful with how you introduce food back in too.
Yeah, well, I mean that's people who go on like the larger fast. But yeah, it's just I've never found the idea of like I don't think human physiology is meant for cleanses.
Mm.
We're not built like that, right? Like we wouldn't go through these periods of time where we're like, you know what? I'm just gonna naturally eat nothing but squirrel meat. Like what?
What?
Like I'm just gonna you lived off what you lived off of. You ate when you ate, but you didn't unless you couldn't hunt or something. I get you.
Mm-hmm.
You go through periods of time where you eat more, eat less, but you wouldn't be like, I'm just not gonna drink water for a month.
Yeah.
What? And then I always criticize people who do this, and they always tell me how amazing it feels, and I'm like, all right, cool. You look like you're dying, but fine.
You look frail.
Like it's just weird.
Well, it makes them happy. Whatever makes you happy makes you a better version of yourself.
And I guess it's adversity, so good for you. But I just
But no, there is that moment for some people because I know that I used to do the whole intermittent fasting thing too. I know it doesn't look like it, but once you pass that like 10 a.m. mark, it's like smooth sailing, and then it's like I could keep going.
I look at it more as like if I'm busy, then it's easy.
Oh yeah.
If I'm not busy, I'm like, nachos sound good.
I know. During Ramadan this year, I fasted a handful of times, and
That's not how Ramadan works.
I know it's bad.
Yeah.
I can't modify it, but I made sure to fast on the days I was coming into the office because I'm not doing that on the weekend.
Fasting?
Yeah, it's
Why
too
not?
difficult. Going around kids' events and then just sitting there, and you're like, this is terrible. I'm just looking at the clock constantly. When I'm at work all day and I'm just working, clock's just flying by.
So you don't love your family?
How do you come to that conclusion?
They make you stress eat.
Yeah, no, they don't make you stress eat. It's just you're sitting there at a kid's sporting event, and you're like, and also if you see people, it's like your breath smells. You don't want your breath to smell.
What do you mean your breath smells?
When you fast all day, you don't have any water, and you don't eat it. You haven't fasted in a very long time.
I fast every day for 16 hours.
No, you drink water on top of it, and you drink your C4 energy drink first thing in the morning at 6 a.m. I see your stories, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Crack it open in the fridge.
Yeah. There's no time like the present. Yeah. I've been, the whole reason why I started those stories, right?
Why?
I feel like a lot of those influencers who post like a day in the life, they post these curated days in life, but they don't ever post the stories. So I thought, let me post what an actual like daily routine looks like.
Yeah.
This is what it looks like when you really do it. It's not glamorous.
Right. It's
like no one's throwing me a Saratoga bottle of water.
It's very simple. Get up, get your workout in first thing, answer some emails while you're in the cold plunge, and then get to the office.
It's not complex. I do 20 minutes cardio. I do, my cold plunge, and then, I get ready for the day, and then I'm out. And then some days I got to be in the office by 8. Some days I have a little more leeway, flexibility. Those days I'll grab a coffee before I go in, try to mix it up. But
how do you plan your days out?
What do you mean?
Do you plan them out in advance as far as like how you plan on tackling the next day? I know your morning routine's your morning routine. But
so I always look at my calendar for the next day as my last thing before I leave the office.
No, because you have so many things going on, right?
Yeah.
Like I know all this stuff is outside of work hours. It's 10:30 on a Wednesday, 10:30 p.m. Right? But with everything else going on, I mean, with the studio and you got, the office, all the stuff you got going on in the office.
I've got 5 calendars.
You're working out, 5 calendars.
Yeah. The way I look at it is I stay busy.
Yeah.
Everybody's got different levels of output, and I'm not saying that I'm better or worse than anybody else. I just have a high level of output. I've always known that about myself.
Yeah.
And I don't mind working hard, but
is it going to be hard for you to slow down as Carter continues to get older?
No, I work around it. So like on Sunday we went to Disneyland all day long.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
So let's say he gets into sports or something, or
yeah.
music or something
No,
else.
I'll just sacrifice sleep.
Yes, it's just more sleep.
No,
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. I'll
Yeah.
just sacrifice the things I need to sacrifice in order to be there. It's just what it is. I like the idea of going home and like watching television, but I don't really do that ever. I think it's like rare. We like once a week. If there's like a show out like Severance, like I'll come home like with Joanna and like we'll have like one night a week where we'll like watch an episode, maybe two if we're like really like looking out. But I've got a great wife who's very understanding of my impatience with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll get up before her, and I'll be in the downstairs on the bike and get in the cold plunge. I'll come upstairs. Usually, her and Carter are awake by then. Say good morning. Spend a little bit of time with them if I have it. Most mornings I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get ready to go to work.
Yep.
I usually leave before she takes Carter to school, which is usually about 8:00, and then I'm working all day long.
Mm-hmm.
I'll leave the office. I'll go to the gym for 20 minutes cardio, then 40 minutes lifting, and then most days I've got something after that. I'll go home for like an hour, spend some time with them at whatever. If I'm lucky, I can stay at home and do some work on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not lucky, I'll go to the studio, and I've been doing a lot of these days lately, and I'll work on the studio because it needs to be up and running by May 1st, which is it's less than 3 weeks away now.
Right around the corner, right?
And then weekends are usually full day of work too. Like I don't take days off. I haven't had a vacation since my brother really got married, which was 2023, and that was 5 days. I went to Hawaii with my wife, but
yeah, this is the conversation I had with my wife the other day too, and I was listening to one of Rogan's episodes, and he was talking about his hobbies, right?
yeah.
And it's no secret, right? He's like he has OCD when it comes to this stuff. When any of his hobbies, he just gets engulfed and he wants to.
He gets all in.
He's all in, right? And you think like, okay, he's got a wife, he's got kids.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the podcast seriously. He takes working out very seriously.
Does the UFC thing.
Does the UFC thing. He does the whole archery thing, right? He does the whole hunting thing. There's all these different things that he does, and in order to become really good at all those things, if that's what you want to do, there are sacrifices you have to make along the way.
Yeah, I mean,
and you have to ask yourself, like, okay, well, if you idolize somebody like that, right, and you want to be equally good at all those types of things or that many different things.
But that's the disconnect for me, though. A lot of people do that stuff because they idolize somebody. That isn't the reason to do it. This is just who I am.
No, but what I meant is like, look, like he's not defined by any one thing. I'm saying if you want to be like that, where you like multiple things and are good at multiple things.
Society discourages that behavior, though.
Yeah, man. Right? Really discourages it. Like people will make you feel bad about like, oh, you don't spend time with your family, like, every night or this and that. And you're like, well, why am I a bad person for wanting to get good at other things too? And if it works for my wife and I, then
society discourages the hell out of that behavior. And it's weird. Like on one hand, you get compliments, like, "Oh, I don't know how you do it," blah blah blah. But then on the other hand, you get a lot of criticism. And it's weird. So like I get, I'm an attorney, I'm a broker, contractor, all this other stuff, and I make quips here and there. But people will comment. They'll see my stories and be like, "Oh, like you should get a contractor's license. Ha ha ha! You should be a contractor if this doesn't work out." And I'm like, "No, I am a contractor, dude."
Yeah.
And they typically go like, "Oh my god, you do everything, man!" Like it's blah blah blah. And it's like, yeah, but at the same time, you have to understand. Like I like this stuff. Like I do it. I'm not doing it because like, hey, look at me, I'm a big man on the campus. La 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 la. It's just I do it because I like it, and I share what I like with people because I'm doing these things. But I know a lot of people, and I'll call my brother out right now. My brother sees this stuff, and he's a closet hater about it. It's a competition for him. He feels like super competitive, and I'm like, look, you don't have a need to compete with me.
It's not. Yeah, I'm not. It's not competition.
Yeah, like I'll be honest with you. I probably make less money because I do all these things, not more. What's your design of wealth? Is your design of wealth and your idea of wealth to go make a ton of money and like have a lot of time off? Because that's not what I get. That's not my life.
Well, I don't know that that's the case for your brother, but I'll speak about just closet haters in general, right? But it's like, okay, why it's okay to idolize that type of behavior when it's someone like Steph Curry or LeBron James that are like ultra successful, making millions of dollars. But if you're not to that level, then you can't idolize it. Like those guys are making equal sacrifices.
Yeah, but
Right?
there's a big societal miscommunication here. It's a misconception. You can call it whatever you want. We believe that you have to work hard, and if you put this massive amount of effort in, you get this massive reward, and that's usually money or fame back.
Mm.
I wish life were that equitable. I wish it were that fair. It's not. And I'll give you a great example, and I'll use sports because I know how much you can't focus on anything else. You would think.
No.
Yeah. You would think, what is that the soundtrack for? Is it like
The soundtrack
for? You would think that some of these athletes wake up, train super hard, work out, eat well, they do all these things, and they're just in incredible shape. And I'll tell you, I've seen a whole hell of a lot of athletes over the years who eat terribly, who don't like working out, who literally never lift weights,
yes,
and are still among some of the most incredible athletes and make millions of dollars every single year.
Yeah.
That ain't fair. That ain't fair.
No, but
it's not fair.
But no. Okay, there's no secret. Obviously, genetics do play a role in it, but you can't also in the same breath.
That's just one though.
But you can't in the same breath. You have to also consider that sacrifices were made along the way to get to that point.
Not always.
That doesn't just
not
happen.
always.
That doesn't just happen like that.
You're generalizing way too much, bro.
No, hell.
Okay, let's take it someplace else. Nepotism is ripe in Hollywood. It's in everywhere in the work environment.
No, there's some of that.
And it's not just genetic nepotism. It's colloquial social nepotism. I like Saied. He's brown like me. I'm going to hook him up with a job. I mean, it's just, I hate to say it like that, but sometimes it's just petty as that. And if you think that it's fair, that it's a, meritocracy all the time, I would say more often than not, it is not a meritocracy. And I'm not saying that your job is doing this, but I'm just saying, look, if you think that some people get ahead because they're putting in all this work, well, there's a lot of times that ain't the case. They just got opportunities you didn't get, which is a terrible way to say that sometimes luck is, in fact, the combination of preparation and opportunity.
That's not a terrible thing, though. That's true, though. That's not a secret.
Sometimes your preparation level can be a whole lot lower than your opportunity level, and you can still just get the same level of success. I'll use an example that's very visible to the world. Lucky Palmer, who started Anduril, who's a billionaire, who sold this virtual reality headset. He was a kid. He found two pieces of technology, and this story is very public. It's out there. He's told it. Two pieces of technology. He put them together and made a superior virtual reality helmet, which ultimately got sold to Facebook, which became the Oculus device. And he worked for Facebook and made billions of dollars from that transaction, which included stock and cash as well. He was really young. I know he probably feels like he worked super hard to get there. And I'm not saying he's not intelligent, but there are a lot of brilliant engineers who probably work in some part for him at Anduril now, which is an amazing company. And they do some really crazy things there. I mean, their technology is it's astonishing. Some of the stuff that they've got now. But that was a pretty wild series of opportunity and preparation.
No.
Is it because he's brilliant?
Brilliant, right time, right place, plays a role.
There's a lot of factors, man.
There's a lot of variables. Of course, there's a lot of variables.
And the problem I have is a kid will say, "Oh, look," and I grew up with a friend who was always looking for. At the time we were growing up, it was apps, mobile apps, app solutions. Everybody had to have an app. We need apps.
Yeah.
Apps are how you make money. Apps make you rich.
Yeah.
And he was always looking for apps and I'm gonna build an app. I'm gonna build an app. And it's like, dude, you have to understand, it's like social media on some level. Sometimes you just got to have enough, you got to have enough things that are visible, and maybe one will pop off. Maybe they'll do something for you.
Yeah.
Maybe you wind up being the Hawk Tuah girl slanging a meme coin, disappearing.
Right.
I don't mean to be, malicious, but it's not just the opportunity. Sometimes
she got off the hook too, by the way, right?
I think she did, yeah. But this is just wild disconnect. And the problem is, the proverbial downside to this is a lot of young people and old people alike will look in the mirror and see failure because they didn't get the opportunity to get lucky. that doesn't make you a failure, man. You can't use money and fame or status as a proxy for success, right? You got a roof over your head. You can pay your bills. You're living comfortably. That's a W, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You're a present father, a present, mother, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a W. Just being able to do that and be there and making that a priority in your life that costs you nothing but time. Time is a resource, just like money is.
Right. I'll say I know I have several family members who are a little bit older who are, coming to the end of their careers and they don't have hobbies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things that we're doing outside of work hours, and if nothing ever comes of them, and as long as they provide you the mental clarity,
yeah,
right? Like that's a W. The fact
humans
that you
need
have
that. Humans inherently need that. You need to
struggle.
Be doing, yeah.
You need to. That's why. Why do you think people love doing marathons and you almost are searching for the struggle to overcome?
Yeah, I don't like.
Yeah,
I'm not a marathon
I know,
guy.
Not a marathon guy. I know, but like the
you
cold
could
plunge.
not- you
Why
could
do you
not
like the?
motivate
Why do people like the cold plunge? It feels good to do something hard that you don't doesn't feel good right away. Now it's gotten to the point for you where it feels good.
Yeah, there are moments.
But like
yeah.
building out an entire studio, it's got its challenges.
I regret that deeply. You kidding me?
You're talking about electrical, right? How much you hate electrical.
I regret starting that project.
Yeah.
I did. So this is not public knowledge, but I'll share. My dad listed that property, and I bought it and got him a commission on that deal. I probably overpaid about $40,000 for it. I was still reeling, which I talked about on the show before, from selling the one property I had to sell to cover taxes and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And it really bothered me to go, -1 on a property. So this opportunity came up, and it gave me a property back, and the timing was right.
Mm-hmm.
But when you and I walked in,
I'm not gonna lie, my guy, I didn't see the vision.
yeah,
When you decided to pull the trigger, like if I really had a say in it, I'd be like, this ain't the one, bro. Like initially, because I didn't see the vision. Now, after all the work that you've done to it already, I'm like, oh, okay, I see it now. But I've always been that way. Like when we bought the house that we bought, and my wife had ideas to like make furniture. This and I was like, really? Okay, I mean, I guess.
I didn't see the vision either, to be honest with you. Like and keep in mind, like I don't. I might be a general contractor, but I'm not an interior designer.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
I just I was like, look, I can't operate in this space the way it is. We gotta have to figure something out.
Yeah.
And then I started doing like research, and I'm like, okay, like I'll get like a glass wall right here. People wanted like 10, 11 grand for a glass wall.
Let me just do it myself.
And then not even that. That was just the wall cost. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
We paid $2,700 for the glass wall. I mean, I got quotes from everybody. I think the cheapest quote I got was like 8 or 9 grand. And I'm like, y'all know this is glass and metal, right?
Yeah, nothing fancy.
Like, I don't need what?
Yeah. Like, what?
It was wild, man. People are like, well, you need it to be soundproof. I'm like, I really don't. I got a noise gate on the audio equipment.
It's just gonna be me in there.
And look, like this space right now is not like totally soundproof, but it sounds totally fine.
Right.
I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts that sound really bad.
Yeah, no, not as good as this for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the mental clarity, I think, in and of itself is a W. So to your point, if you can spend time with your family and do whatever you need to do to get that mental clarity, that's a W.
Yeah, but I think for a lot of people, it's still social media. I am super tired. Like, damn.
Yeah,
I am so sorry.
You have not been sleeping very much.
I have not been sleeping much. The last couple nights too, I've been up super early and going to bed super late. But I've just been kind of tired, man. I think this market volatility has really been emotionally taxing, because I'll wake up in the morning, and instead of like just because normally when I ride the Peloton in the morning, I'll watch like Netflix for a couple minutes. I've got CNBC on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get it
right out the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I knew on Sunday I was watching the futures market, which was telling me exactly kind of what was going to happen in the market. I saw the pre-market open trading, which I knew was red. So I knew.
So maybe unpack that a little bit for people. Why would you look at the futures market, and what does that look like?
A futures market is generally an indication of what you can expect to see in a stock market coming up. If the future market is exactly what it sounds like, right? It's basically you're pre-trading what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. I was also watching some of the overseas markets. I knew that.
A lot of tech companies are in the future markets, right?
Yeah, Japan and China, I knew were having hits from tariffs, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the U.S. is going to have hits, a big hit, but certainly if you're seeing global markets that are ahead of you by a day in trading, meaning it's already Monday there, already start to take a hit, you can pretty much unpack this could be a global problem.
Right.
The futures market was getting a little volatile. The VIX had closed high up, so I knew volatility was a real problem. So I started watching. I got up early and started watching pre-trading. There's a window of time before the market actually opens where you can kind of pre-trade, anticipate what's going to happen, and it was all trading down negative. It isn't always a good proxy for what's going to happen when the market opens, but certainly I expected there to be some volatility, and I think we got that. Wild swings in the market. It was down 1 minute, up the next minute. You couldn't really call it. There's no day since this whole tariff situation has been announced has the market been consistently down the entire day. It's been trading up and trading down and trading up and trading down, and every single verbal thing that's being said is being unpacked.
Yeah.
You know, somebody said that, oh my God, tariffs are going to go into effect at 12 o'clock, and they're like, oh my God, 12 noon, and they're like, no, it's 12:01 a.m. And people, and that that difference drove a pretty big change in the market because we're like, oh my God, it's going into effect now. Oh my God, it's going into effect, tomorrow morning. In reality, that has no tangible impact.
If you ever had a reason to buy into the idea of long-term investing, this is it right here, right? Like, this is why I could never do the day trading thing.
Well, there are some theories that are not really substantiated that I think are worthy of discussion. Like, to be completely honest, does this make the U.S. a less attractive place to invest your money if you're a foreign country? The U.S. in a lot of ways is like the water in the pipeline pushing things through because it's such a heavily invested country. Everybody really invests here if they can. And because of that, money typically flows to the United States pretty aggressively. So one could argue, the U.S. economy is too important for other parts of the world to say we're going to back away from it. But there are those out there who believe that you can take a country like Russia, who's got sanctions, and a country like China, who's a big trade partner of the United States, and say, okay, we're now aligning these two people to not like the United States. We're now aligning their behavior against the United States. Could they facilitate economic growth outside of a relationship with the United States, and what would that mean for us as China being a manufacturing trading partner for the most part? And there could be some ramifications. You could get the Saudis and people in the UAE saying, you know what, the U.S. has been a safe haven of stability over time. We've been very confident in the market to say we have a president who's willing to do things that we don't think are stable. The VIX is showing the fear gauge at very, very high numbers. We don't feel that we should be so concentrated in the United States. We should diversify into other countries where the risks are probably not as great. Or if this were to happen again, we wouldn't have the same single event risk that we had before. So there is a compelling argument to be made that you could see this having long-lasting impacts to the perception of trading with the United States. And even if the market is stable and things are okay, you could make an argument. Again, this is not fact. This is speculation. That people will say, you know what? As long as this president's in office, there's too much risk of unknown and rogue behavior for us to be this concentrated.
Yeah, it does. It does really. From the very beginning, it did kind of blow me away that, like, this administration found the one thing that there weren't any checks and balances on that he can fully control by himself.
Yeah, and that's tariffs, man. So tariffs, you can do that. It's not like the federal government employees where it's not so easy. There's lots of court cases around that. But
and then you got, so just as an update for everyone, our next FOMC meeting is in May, right? 70 some odd chance that there's not going to be any cuts. He already came out and said we still have room to wait.
You know what I don't think is right now? So since the whole tariff conversation, the World Interest Rate Probability and Chicago Mercantile Exchange have shown up to 4 cuts coming before the end of the year.
So, and just as a recap for everybody, in March, in that meeting, they had to lay out their projections for the rest of the year. They said only 2.
Yeah.
Right? And as of right now, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is showing that the cut will be in June.
So there's
95% chance.
There's a high probability in June, in July, in September, and December. There's 4 that are high probabilities now, which I think is wrong.
Right.
So, I don't think the FOMC is going to pivot from.
And we're not going to get an update on their projections until that June meeting.
Yeah.
So that's the one that everyone right now is circling on their calendar.
And that's going to be hard, man. Nothing that we've done so far has not been inflationary. Does that make sense? There's a lot of double negatives there.
Yeah.
Triple negative. Nothing that we've done so far has not been inflationary.
Yeah.
Yeah. Double negative.
Everything has been inflationary.
Everything's been. Yeah, it could have been that way. See, dude, I am strangely tired tonight.
Yeah.
That C4 did nothing for me.
That's just water for you. That's candy.
It's not candy, but it's certainly hydrating.
I don't know, man. It says Hawaiian Punch on the side.
Dude, it's the best flavor known to man. Hawaiian joint. Yeah, no, it's good. Hawaiian Punch is my new favorite C4 flavor.
Yeah.
And it literally tastes like Hawaiian Punch.
Yeah, what made you get on the C4s?
First of all, it's got 200 milligrams caffeine, and it's got all the pre-workout stuff.
But honestly,
going.
they all got the 200 milligrams of caffeine.
No, Monsters are like 140.
They're just not cutting it anymore.
It's not getting it done, bro. I was at the Rock Stars for a while. I have a caffeine problem. I'm so desensitized from a cortisol level response now. Like I can drink this and go to sleep. I literally just had a C4 and I'm exhausted. I'm ready to go to sleep.
That's wild.
That's not normal.
That's not normal.
That's not normal. You keep looking at the clock like you want to get out of here.
Well, you keep looking at the clock. You keep yawning.
I did.
I'm trying to hook you up.
No.
Let's read P Dub's review. How about that? Okay,
Right, yeah.
Let's do this. This from our boy P Dub. Another 5-star review. Brosif. Saied getting some hate recently with some of his negative Nancy attitude.
Deservedly so. Deservedly so. Yeah.
But people are so sensitive.
Yeah, chiefly among them is Saied.
No, I'm
Very
not.
sensitive.
I got thick skin.
No, you don't. You just got a lot of hair.
I got thick skin. Come on, man.
No, you don't. You don't have thick skin.
I got thick skin.
You know that stuff bothers you.
What?
Oh, come on now.
Give me some. Give me something that you think that bothers me.
When people,
I'll be honest with you. I'll be 100% honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what do you think bothers me?
When they call you a raging Democrat. That bothers you.
That's how. No, it doesn't, because that's hilarious. Because that's so far from the truth.
Is it?
Yeah.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah. I'm modern. I'm Cuban, baby. I'm independent.
Yeah, right.
I'm not gonna lie. I didn't like the shade he threw at All In David Sachs.
Neither did I, friends. Neither did I. Unfortunately,
I had a right to question it.
No, you didn't.
What do you mean?
David Sachs, a living legend. How dare you?
He's okay. What? Because he's funny?
His last name's Sachs. Can't hate on Sackies.
Can't hate on Sachs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't touch that anymore. But he's got every right to question. So chill, people. Driving and listening to the attempted positive pod, number 275, and had to reach out. Love the pod, the new format, and all the solid info you put out.
Attempted positive.
Yeah.
Translate loosely. Y'all failed.
Yeah.
Y'all weren't positive,
No,
man.
Yeah, we're
Positively negative.
Right. If I have time for only one episode and choose between the Higher Standard podcast and Mind Pump,
Yeah, this is where it got a little twisted.
I've crossed over to the #1 financial literacy podcast as my go-to listen. Also, where's DJ Baboon? Is he ever coming back?
No, he's not.
No, yeah, he's
Yeah.
got baby number 3 is due in June.
See, but he didn't really depart in what I would call a meaningful way. So the questions like that come up. Like, it's fair. I get it.
Yeah, he owes it to the listeners. He owes them an explanation.
And I'm not going to lie. We replaced him with AI, and the AI is way faster. Like, it's not even. I used to have to wait days for him to get, like, the ultimate file to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I can do it in, like, 2 hours. And it's literally, like 40 minutes of that is just the computer doing its own thing.
But I miss him chiming in.
Really?
I miss his breathing.
Man. You know how many times I'd have to clean up his.
It was nice. It was nice having a carpool buddy on the way over here.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I don't have one still.
Yeah, you live 5 minutes away.
Well, I mean, I am building the damn studio at this point in time.
You could have built it next to me.
If I had to drive 30 miles to build a studio, I'd kill myself. I just honor kill myself. There are some days I come here, man, and I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here right now.
So if you're listening to this podcast and you still haven't left us an honest 5-star review, please go over and do so. We actually have a lot of good things planned for the upcoming future. Anything you want to hint at? We got some guests lined up.
Yeah, the goal is to get everything done by May 1st so I can get guests in the door.
We're going to do a lot more episodes with guests.
Yeah.
What do you think the conversations are going to be geared and steered around?
Keeping my ass awake.
Said's not doing a good job.
No, I think we try to increase the cadence of the show back to 2 episodes a week, but we can do that by facilitating guest conversations that don't have a timely aspect.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of what we cover now, despite shows like this where we're just talking to you, is really timely. Like, so that data comes out, we talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
The Fed makes a move, we talk about it. The president does some strange stuff, we talk about the ramifications. But it kind of has to come out. I mean, even this last tariff conversation, we were thinking about putting it out earlier just because we knew how timely it was. But we decided not to deviate from our regular Tuesday cadence because we know that does. I mean, look, people have schedules. They look forward to it. Like
But
the
it'd
last
be
thing I want to do
nice.
is pivot.
Yeah, it'd be nice to throw in like a bonus episode.
Yeah, so we could throw in. So if we get enough guest episodes logged in, I'd like to be able to just drop those on like a Thursday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Drop those like later in the evening, like 5 p.m. And if you listen to it, great, awesome. If you don't, cool. You have the main episode that drops on Tuesday. If you like hearing the I love hearing the stories of guests. I love hearing just kind of like their personal journeys. For me, that's always been intriguing. It's kind of the reason why I got into this to begin with.
Yeah.
Is that it wasn't just about like me talking to the camera, although it's fun. It was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was that I got to talk to other people about what they did and how they got to where they're at. I think to me that's compelling.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I know from a social sphere, especially social media, that I'm connected to that have really cool stories. And a lot of people that I have not brought on the show, just out of respect for the space that we're in. And I'll be honest, like, I know this is probably going to sound real stupid to a lot of people, but when we started the show, we were in my garage,
Mm-hmm.
right? When we built this space out, we did it with the idea of having guests in, but I think it just didn't function right for us.
No. Yeah. In theory, it would be nice, but it would be a little challenging.
And I'm a little embarrassed of the space as it is in here right now.
It's a nice spot for you and I.
Yeah, it's perfect for us. But when you bring guests in, it's cramped. It's not very welcoming. All of that will be resolved with the new space where you got a dedicated green room up front. You got a show in the back. We'll have a fully stocked kitchen / coffee bar where people can, have a drink, relax. And it's got a completely dedicated space. There's not people walking in and out in the backgrounds. And the sound deadening in there is actually way better than this space.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you get a lot more privacy, you get a lot more open conversations, and I think we can really space out the cameras. And what I want to do is I want to have more of a desk format where you and I can be across one another.
Yeah.
And think of like Joe Rogan, if you will, with like Chris Williamson lighting. That's kind of what I'm going for. Although his for those of you who don't watch his show, his lighting, particularly like the Matthew McConaughey episode, is so incredible. I don't know who his cinematographer is and who's doing his lighting. He's obviously got a professional team. I mean, he's got a multi-million following. His lighting is so beautiful, so cinematic. It's not one of those things that most people would notice, but you can watch like a Logan Paul podcast or a Dear Media podcast. Great shows, really, really high, like, listenership.
Yeah, but there's something about those shows too that are captivating because it's almost like it's raw.
Yeah, super raw.
That's the draw.
Yeah, well, generally those usually.
That's why you got the guy with the one camera that's holding it and it's shaking. They want you to feel like you're there.
I get that. Me personally, I want to look at something that looks curated and beautiful, and I'm not going to be the beautiful thing, so I got to have lighting, fill that gap.
Yeah.
Right. So, but it's taken me honestly 4 years to really understand the value of lighting and cinematography and how to really bring something.
Oh, I remember
together.
when we went up to Mind Pump.
Yeah.
And I just looked up at the ceiling and I was like, what in the?
It's $60,000 just for those lights. Just the lights.
Just the lights.
Yeah.
It makes those guys look really good, though.
I mean, they look all right.
Yeah.
They look all right.
Doug's the best. All right, man.
The brilliant mind behind the scenes.
Doug.
Doug is a loyal follower of my social media.
Yeah.
Homeboy is always in the stories.
I love him.
And for those of you who don't follow me on social media, I would point out that I do share a whole lot of content on Instagram and the stories that goes away in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
There are things that I post to X and to Threads, which are more narrative driven, certainly LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
But if you want a more inclusive look at my day and what I deal with on a daily basis, I'm trying to really post pretty regularly in the stories to that end. I want to share what it is that I do at a normalized cadence that's not curated. This is just what I see and what I do. And there's a pretty big gap in the day because when I go into the office, we got clients, I got NDAs, I can't share everything.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly I try to give you a look before and after.
Yeah, so you can kind of see what this is what it looks like for somebody that's really doing it.
Yeah, do you want to actually start a podcast? This is what it takes. Yawning at like midnight.
This is what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
Not elegant.
All right. You got anything else?
Yeah, I do.
Tell me.
So today is Wednesday. It is 10:57 p.m.
Yeah.
Trump just announced that there was a moratorium on all the countries except for China for 90 days.
Where are you going with this?
Okay.
Oh God.
The market had a huge positive swing. It was wild. And tomorrow is anyone's guess. So I want to hear your guess at what you think tomorrow is going to be.
What do I think tomorrow's gonna be?
Yeah, is the stock market going to see the same level of volatility we've been seeing the last couple of days, or are we now looking at stability for the?
No, I'm volatility camp, baby.
Really?
Yeah.
What would be the bad news that would change the market's trajectory after a positive take today? China retaliating. China putting out a release.
No, with the way everything's been going, it could literally be any headline. Bill Ackman could come out again and say something negative about what he sees going on, and that people could be like, "Wait a minute, this guy was supportive of everything he's done so far. What's going on?" Or, Elon's been oddly quiet, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's probably pissed off.
Yeah. What if? Yeah.
Everybody took their toys and went home, left him in the schoolyard.
I wouldn't really consider him as someone that's. He'll do something off the cuff.
God, have you seen they caught him lying about his gaming?
What do you mean? Caught him lying about his gaming?
I don't know how much of this is true, but I saw the outcome of it. People believe that he was lying about how he said he's one of the best gamers in the world at one of his games. I think Diablo or something like that. Right? And he's posted some gaming sessions, right? But then he hosted.
And the nerds came out and were like, "You're not that good?"
Bro, he hosted this live stream while he was gaming. And the comment section was just going after him. He had to like block people.
Like, that's a rookie move.
And then ultimately the quote, the internet went down. You're Elon Musk. Your internet, it doesn't go down. That don't happen.
You have Starlink.
We know this, okay? If anybody's got a big Starlink satellite that's not as reliable as you, bro.
So they were roasting him. And he got roasted. He got a little sensitive.
He didn't get sensitive. He wasn't emotional about it, but he was certainly blocking people.
Yeah, so okay. You would consider yourself as someone who has thick skin.
Sometimes. I was real pissed off earlier tonight.
What is something that you cherish a lot that if somebody roasted, you'd get really sensitive about? Obviously not like family stuff. Obviously, wife, kids, you can't leave that stuff out. But like something that you care about enough to where if somebody roasted, it would make you sensitive, a little sensy. Like if somebody just started attacking your shoe game.
Nah, I don't care.
Because you know well enough to know, like, nah, I know what I got. So what would it be?
My wife and my son.
I said leave the family out.
I know.
That's corny, bro. Come on.
There's nothing.
Your haircuts, your hair,
No.
your transplant, hair transplant.
I make fun of that myself. I openly talk about it.
Yeah.
No, man, they'd be really hard to get under my skin, like criticizing me.
You're too old not to care.
No, I do care. It's just,
to care what other people think.
People have opinions, man. Like, and I've had a lot of people's opinions without even asking me. That's probably the answer. Is people who form an opinion about me without even giving me the professional courtesy of asking me about it. That bothers me. Like, you guys are just forming a conclusion about me based on speculation.
Oh, and when all I've ever done is shown you that I'm 100% honest and transparent.
I just believe in a professional setting, right? If you can't form a negative opinion about me without giving me the professional courtesy of offering up an explanation to what you think this negative sentiment is about. But in the professional setting, people are just avoidant to have conversations. I'll give a great example is this show. People will go, "Oh, I don't like his show," or "I don't like the language." Okay, first of all, if you were to have that conversation with me, I would say to you, we don't cuss in the show anymore. Okay, right off the gate. Second of all, what is it that you think so bad about the show? I don't like that it's taking up so much of your time outside of work.
Oh, the time that you're sleeping. What do you mean? The time that everyone else is sleeping?
Well, yeah. So, and this is where it gets into this debate where it's like, okay, cool. I get that you think that I might be distracted with other things in my life, but we all have distractions, whether you have a hobby or not. There's something else that you do, right? There are very few people who are like, you know what? I am a firefighter. That's all I do.
I think about fighting fires when I'm not fighting fires.
I'm a dentist. That's all I do.
Yeah.
I'm an underwriter. That's all I do. I think that's an unrealistic expectation. It's completely devoid of humanity.
Yeah.
Right. And I respect everybody who feels that they're that committed to whatever it is they're doing, but you're lying to yourself and everybody else around you.
No, yeah.
So stuff like that bothers like people like form conclusions about he can't be a good dad because he's constantly working. That's not. Why don't you ask me how I do it and what I do before you form that conclusion? You know
right.
what I mean?
And
Like,
why
you gotta,
and why are you assuming that this isn't thought out?
you know, and again, so it all boils down to one concept that bothers me a great deal. I don't look at other people who don't put out as much work as me and say you're lazy, because I know.
Were you always that way though?
No, I had learned. Roger Lipson from Yale. He taught me a lot about just humans in general and about output. And he's like, look, just like your thumbprint's unique, your caliber and capabilities of putting out work are different, human by human.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
I used
my
to,
pump says this, right?
yeah.
They say, just it's not what you can tolerate that makes a good workout. It's also what's optimal.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone, maybe your output is enough to where it's still optimal for you, but for somebody else to do it, you can't withstand that long term.
Yeah, and it's about just you having a certain amount of like mental health, right? Like you got to figure out what your output is that you can get that mental health. Recently, like the last couple of days, I've been leaving like 4:30 as opposed to like later in the day, because I was working like 6, 7 every single day. Just because I know that I need to just get back on like a mental health like trajectory where I'm not focused 100% on work all the time.
It's smart. I mean,
I go through phases of burnout and whatnot. I mean, what's somebody says something about you? Is there something that bothers you?
What? Oh, for me, if somebody were to say something about me,
Hairy knuckles.
no, I take pride in my hairy knuckles.
It's weird.
What's so weird about it?
Silicone ring, hairy knuckles. It just looks like a static electricity nightmare.
It's just me and Robin Williams, bro.
You know he was notorious for stealing jokes?
That just recently came out. Who said that?
Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans said that.
Yeah.
I saw the headline.
Yeah, people would like see him walking in. They'd be like, "I'm not telling the jokes. I'm out. Robin's here. He's gonna steal my jokes."
Oh,
And he had to do with him just write checks.
that's messed up though. Why? Don't say this now that he's gone.
I know.
That's messed
It's
up.
tough.
Can't say that to
So what is it? What would somebody say to you that bother you?
my family, bro.
You said you couldn't say that.
No, I'm just gonna say what you said. That was so corny.
You're a terrible human being.
Yeah. The podcast. If somebody says something about the podcast, it bother me.
No, it doesn't. People say, "What are you talking about?"
No, about the podcast, like, yeah, the product is crap. Then I'd be like, oh, what?
Just Said's portion of it anyway.
Yeah, this.
Yeah, Arun's portion is definitely bad.
Yeah. All right, man. Got anything else?
No, man. I'm trying to stay awake.
All right, let's do this.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
I love you so much.